storm this afternoon. High 81, currently 64. Your next news update is at 8, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, best beans, best roast, best coffee.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I can't wait to talk to Dr. Carol Swain about this story that comes to us from the Ivy League.
Yes, the Ivy
Because
League.
I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, she is a Yale law grad, among other credentials. Dr. Carol Swain is an award-winning author, blogger, political commentator, public speaker, and host of Be the People podcast. She is a former Vanderbilt poli-sci professor. I'm sure you've seen her on some of the cable news talk shows over the years. Always good stuff. Pleased to be joined by Dr. Carol Swain. Dr. Swain, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
So you're Yale Law, right?
Yes, I have a master's in law from Yale and a PhD from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I've taught 28 years at Princeton and Vanderbilt.
All right. I don't
Impressive.
know how to break this to you, but I don't know if you saw this. Yale mock trial stripped of 2019 national championship for cheating.
Oh, no.
Yeah. A confidential email from the American Mock Trial Association sent just weeks before one of the aspiring attorneys graduated. They took away the championship, public sanctions from the American Mock Trial Association. I'm sure this is fascinating to most people, but it's fun for me. And making up facts was the accusation, cheating, and thus Yale mock trial team stripped. And I note this only because it's fun to make fun of the Ivy League. That's one reason. But the real reason is because of this Yale law dean, former law dean and professor Anthony Kronman, who just retired and has written a book called The Assault on American Excellence. He talks about the dangers of the diversity cult, really, on campuses. The Ivy League, just one example of them. But boy, you have a law professor talking about the assault on excellence at Yale Law and elsewhere, and then the Yale mock trial team gets stripped of its championship for cheating. I just love the connection between the two.
Well, I can say that whenever someone is caught, you can be sure that others have been doing it probably for decades and didn't get caught,
Sure.
such as the parents that were cheating to get their kids into colleges and universities. It's safe to assume that those types of things have gone on unnoticed, like for many years.
No question. No question. But what Kronman suggests about diversity offices on college campuses, and as a longtime academic, I'd be interested in your take on this. He says in an interview about his book and about Yale, Yale's diversity offices are mostly staffed by administrators who have a built-in incentive to find the university is not doing enough to promote diversity on campus. The result? An increasingly complicated set of rules and regulations, some mandatory, others merely suggestive but influential nonetheless, and it requires faculty to give racial, ethnic, gender diversity an ever greater weight in all aspects of academic life, which is destroying the intellectual pursuit that should be the focus on campus.
Well, I don't know the details of that particular case. Was it a minority student?
I don't know either. But I'm not talking about that case in general. I'm just talking about his statement about the diversity.
Well, I mean, I agree that during the time that I was at Princeton, and that was 1990 to 1999, I was physically on campus. My separation date was 2000, and it was certainly the case that I had sat in on admissions committee meetings where they, I saw all sorts of things about affirmative action, including discrimination between minorities, where there might be one that had a that had a better academic record as far as scores and grades, but came from a working class background. I've seen students like that with higher scores passed over for someone that had a better pedigree, and so they would choose a particular kind of person based on their pedigree often rather than their academic achievements. And I think that people that advocate affirmative action, a lot of times they don't know how it really works. It is designed to produce a particular outcome that doesn't, it's not tied as much as you would like to a person's accomplishment or past discrimination.
Right. Well, right. And so, and this is the discussion we're having in real time, including at the level of the presidential 2020 election, is about how much do we focus on some of the wrongs of the past without question, and pull them forward to grievances of the present.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly been abused and misused, and research by, I believe his name is Richard Sanders, a professor in California, shows that the aggressive affirmative action that's been used, over the previous decades, that we're actually producing less successful law grads than we would if we allowed people to go where their scores and grades indicated they should be. And part of the example is some of the young people that go to Harvard or Yale and places like that would be at the top of their class if they were at their state university, if they were at University of Texas or University of Virginia or some other school.
I wanted to get a take on another aspect of your life. You recently ran for mayor of Nashville, and obviously you have Nashville's a medium-sized city now, but I don't know.
Booming. 82 people a day are moving to Nashville.
Blink your eyes, and it's going to be bigger than Chicago at the pace. And so of the stories coming out of municipalities, big urban centers around the country about quality of life, quality of economic opportunity, public safety, whether it's been Baltimore in the news, whether it's been Philadelphia in the news the other night with that standoff and the police who were shot, and how you see big city mayors dealing with the complications and the policy challenges of big urban centers, and how you were conceiving to do so as mayor.
Well, I mean, if you look at 9 out of 10 cities that are run by Democrats, they have the same set of urban problems. And in Nashville, our economy is booming. Revenues are up 23%, but we are broke. And there's been, even though Democrats run the city is 70% Democrat. The privatization, all the things they have done have benefited individuals and not benefited the city. So that's part of the problem. But the more serious issue for our nation is how our public safety officers are being treated. And in Nashville and elsewhere, when it comes to police, firefighters, and first responders, well, I can't talk about other cities about that, but I can tell you about Nashville, that the last 3 mayors have neglected public safety, and we are about 180 police officers short, and for a city our size, we would actually need 100 more. And so really we need probably about 280 officers, and there has not been a focus on that. And so that was going to be my number one priority, not just to focus on hiring the officers, but trying to figure out how to bring about some type of reconciliation between them and minority communities by focusing on the fact that we have a crime problem in our country that's far more severe than police officers that engage in misbehavior. When police officers shoot someone that's unarmed, it gets all the attention, but those shootings are actually rare compared to the crime that's taking place in every community every day that needs to be focused on is far more important. And just the things that public safety officers do, calling 911 in Nashville doesn't mean you're going to get a response or get the phone call answered in a timely manner.
Really?
That's interesting to note about Nashville. So many Chicagoans moving down there. That's interesting to know.
Oh, there's tons. And then, so now that you've got your name out there, you ran for mayor, what's next for you? Are you going to seek another public office?
Well, I mean, I'm limited. One of the things I learned is, I mean, I already knew this as a professor about money, the role of money, but I was actually in the number 2 position, would have been set to be in the runoff, where I could have easily defeated the incumbent mayor, who is expected to be defeated in a few weeks. But one of the candidates was able to put in like $1.5 million of his own money and he had the name recognition and the ties, and so he will be in the runoff, and he's likely to prevail. He will be a better candidate, I believe, than the incumbent mayor because I can't imagine having a worse mayor than the one that we have. So for myself, I'm going back to my podcast. I'm going back to my writing. I'm open to political opportunities that come my way, not just political, but I care about American society. I care about what's happening in our urban cities, and I think my unique background gives me an opportunity to talk to things that most people don't even consider. It never crossed their minds.
Yeah, no,
And so that's where I am.
no question about it. Another good advertisement, Chamber of Commerce pitch for Nashville, too, that you've got the willingness to make political changes as the city is growing to keep up with